We're always on the hunt for new sources of clean energy. We've looked at the sun, the oceans, even deep within the earth. But what if one of the most powerful resources we have is just, well, right above our heads? Today, we're going to look up, way up, into the fascinating world of airborne wind energy.
Okay, so you've seen these, right? These giant conventional wind turbines. They're pretty much everywhere. And they are incredible pieces of engineering, for sure, but they all share one big limitation: the tower. I mean, they can only go so high, which means they're actually missing out on the best, most powerful winds.
And that exact limitation is what gets us to the big idea here. What if we could tap into all that power that's just a little higher up? What if we could, just get rid of the tower completely? And that, my friends, is where airborne wind energy, or AWE, comes into the picture. To put it simply, it's about making power with devices that actually fly. We're talking about things like high-tech kites, gliders, or even blimps, all designed to grab wind that is way, way higher than any physical tower could ever hope to reach. So why go through all that effort? Well, the payoff is potentially huge. As you climb higher in the atmosphere, the winds don't just get a little stronger, they get way stronger. They're also more persistent, they blow more often, and they're much, much steadier. That kind of consistency is an absolute game changer for generating power. Up there, it is a truly massive, untapped resource, just waiting. Okay, so how much more power are we really talking about here? It's not just a little bit more. The answer is hiding in a really simple but incredibly powerful rule of physics. And seriously, if you get this one concept, you'll understand exactly why AWE has so much potential. It's called the velocity cubed law. Now, I know, that sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty straightforward. The link between wind speed and the power you can get from it isn't a straight line. It's exponential. So as the wind gets faster, the available power just skyrockets. This is what it all boils down to. If you double the speed of the wind, you don't get double the power. You don't get 4 times the power, you get 8 times the power. Think about that. Just a modest increase in wind speed gives you this massive leap in available energy. Now you see the promise of flying high.
So we get why we want to go up there, but how? How do these flying contraptions actually turn wind into electricity that we can use down on the ground? Let's break it down.
If you look at a lot of these AWE systems, the basic setup is surprisingly simple. You've got your ground station, right? And that's where the generator is. Then you have this super strong but really lightweight tether. And on the other end of that tether, you have the thing that does the flying. In this case, some kind of glider or a kite. Now, the real magic is in how it flies. The kite doesn't just hang out up there. It's actively flown in a specific crosswind pattern, usually a figure 8. This makes it slice through the air and go way faster than the wind itself, which generates a really powerful and, most importantly, consistent pull on that tether. This all creates a 2-step cycle, sometimes called a pumping cycle. First is the generation phase. The kite is flying its figure 8 pattern, pulling really hard on the tether. That unwinds a winch on the ground, which spins the generator and makes electricity. Simple enough. Then comes the recovery phase. The kite changes its angle, kind of like turning a sail to cut down on the drag. It gets reeled back in really fast, using just a tiny bit of the energy it just made. Then the cycle starts all over again. But hold on, that yo-yo method is just one way to do it. The world of airborne wind energy is absolutely buzzing with creative ideas. Engineers are coming up with all sorts of wild and wonderful designs to crack this thing. For the most part, you can split these designs into 2 big camps. First, you've got heavier than air systems, or HTA. Think kites and gliders. They're super agile, really efficient, but they need wind to stay up. Then you've got lighter than air, or LTA systems. These use buoyancy, from balloons or blimps to float up there. They can be more stable, but maybe a little more vulnerable to really bad weather. And this is where things get really cool. You have the agile kites we've been talking about, sure, but there are also massive blimps called aerostats that basically act as floating towers, hoisting turbines right up into the jet stream. There are even ideas for spinning cylinders that use something called the Magnus effect to create lift. And get this, the carousel, where a whole team of kites works together to pull a generator around a huge circular track on the ground. So I know this all sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but you might be surprised to find out that the basic idea has actually been around for a very, very long time.
People have been dreaming about this for centuries. I mean, way back in 1827, a guy named George Pocock was writing about using kites to pull carriages. The modern physics behind it was really nailed down in 1980 by Miles Lloyd. And now, today, we're finally seeing that dream start to become a reality, with actual prototypes and test centers bringing the tech to life.
And listen to this quote from 1833. It just perfectly captures how long people have been looking up and thinking about this. For almost 200 years, we've been dreaming of grabbing power right out of the clouds. But okay, let's get real for a minute. It's not all smooth sailing. There are some serious hurdles to clear. Safety is obviously number one. You've got to think about air traffic, lightning strikes, all of it. The systems have to be incredibly reliable and easy to maintain. And like any new tech, it's got to prove it can make money and compete with solar and traditional wind, which are getting cheaper all the time. So yeah, the challenges are real, but you just can't deny the potential. I mean, think about remote communities, or offshore platforms, or even disaster relief zones where normal power grids are down. AWE offers this incredible promise of power pretty much anywhere, which leaves us with the big question. Will our future power grids be tethered directly to the sky?